Hello, everyone. Let me just turn on the video. Hi.
Hi there.
Hi, Lauren. Where are you calling from today? Oh, Lauren's gone. Wow.
Oh, I'm here. I'm in the Giveth house.
Oh, you're in the Giveth house. Oh, that corner I didn't know.
It's in the basement.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. Wait, let's wait a little bit more. I've got the agenda up there.
How's Rochelle, Lauren? Sorry.
Yeah.
Western medical system. She's okay. She's supposed to come home maybe tomorrow, but she's supposed to come home yesterday. And then
great.
she's supposed to come home today. So we'll see.
Oh, okay. So she's still in hospital?
Yeah, they're pumping her full of antibiotics.
Oh, okay.
Is she better? Is she feeling better? Is there progress?
She seems better. Yeah, everybody who's gone to visit her, they're like strict about visitors, but everyone who's gone to visit her says that she seems good. But yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah,
we were talking about maybe in the community call taking like a little section and everybody saying something and then recording it and like sending her the recording of everybody like saying a little something to Rochelle or something like that.
That's very nice. That's a great idea.
Great. We can just start and then start with check-in maybe, and while we wait for others. Well, like the check-in question today is, what do you do to relax? I think it will help us to know each other a little bit better. What do I do to relax? I like to take long walks, as well as reading, and also play the guitar and sometimes sing. And draw. So I'll pass it on to Claire. We can't hear you, Claire.
Try that. Is that better?
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Melody. So what do I do to relax? I walk and swim, mostly.
Great.
Solitary entertainment. And I pass it on to Lauren.
Hey, everyone. I like to take baths. Baths are very relaxing. I'll pass it to Ashley.
You took my I think hot water or hot heat, the sauna, hot showers, hot springs, anything
hot
like
drink.
really warm. Yeah, hot tea. Hot is relaxing for me.
Yeah.
And I will pass it to Jessie.
Oh, great.
So I typically go to the mountains for hiking. It's just 45 minutes from here, and I think nothing relaxes me as much as that. Benz, what about you?
Yeah, I climb or hike or just go on a walk with the dog. That's what does it for me. And I'll pass it to Jake.
Thanks, Benz. For me, I was going to say go golfing, but I usually get mad a lot of times when I'm golfing. So let's say working out. I like working out. So Ahmad, how about you?
Yeah, I like to ride my bike. I would say, yeah, that's what relaxes me. Kotabi, how about you? What relaxes you?
Usually I play football, like soccer football, every Saturday, and it's so noticeable. Like sometimes my girlfriend is like, just need to play football because it's like You know, I like all the energy, because sometimes even when I'm sleeping, I kind of like move too much. And after playing football, I don't move that much. So I kind of like really need that activity. And dancing, I also love dancing. I really enjoy it. And talking with people, just talking is also a super relaxing thing to do, and meditate.
Great. Wow. Thank you. So, yeah, so let's move on to the second item. So as you know, I'm leaving Giveth. I think my last day is August 5th. And also Claire also are not going to be, Claire had let us know that she wished not to be the steward for the group anymore as well. So we have Reiner, who is the sole steward, left. And so we want to actually start some kind of a discussion today to see where the Connect group's going to be in the future without, with these changes, I guess. And Reiner, do you want to take over and share the documents if you want that you created, or you just want to talk about it?
Sure, I can do that. The document is linked in the agenda. Melody, if you could
I can.
also open it so that it's visible on the stream. So yeah, as you heard, Melody is leaving us. Very sad to hear that. It's not nice to let you go, but that's the way it is, and I can understand that. I've had a couple of conversations with Ashley, for example, to start thinking a little bit about the future of the group. And I just put together a few ideas and thoughts to, have a basis for discussion. And that's a 2-pager that's on a Google Doc, and I'll just go through it sort of step by step so that you can get an impression of where at least some of these ideas are, and then let's discuss what you think. So the first thing that I thought a little bit about the title, and that's something that we can of course discuss as many times as you like. I came up for now with Giveth Impact Partnerships Group. And I'll say in a minute where that comes from. And I think what might make sense to give the group maybe a little bit more scope than in the past would be to say that the main goal of the group should be to make Giveth as attractive as possible to impact-driven organizations. And by that, I mean nonprofit organizations, social businesses, initiatives, projects, so anything that is a potential project on the platform. And especially those that are outside of the crypto and Web3 world, because I think the access to these is already quite strong from all of you and colleagues and stuff. And the big assumption I think here is that Giveth obviously needs more donors. And besides a really well-functioning give economy, which is very attractive to donors, the other big thing that I think Giveth needs to get right as long as possible is to get a large number of high-quality organizations as projects on the platform. And that would be something that the new Connect group could feel more responsible for. And to make it a little bit more concrete, the scope of the actual work that the group would do falls into sort of an external bucket, how it supports and behaves to the outside world, and also some of the internal stuff that it would be involved. And the key external pieces would be to reach out to key networks and platforms of impact-driven organizations, including networks, funder networks, for example, in order to build partnerships with them and attract their members as projects. One example maybe that we can talk about later also is Street Football World. It's a worldwide umbrella organizations for street football organizations. And some of them are in countries that I think are very close to crypto and stuff. And so this is an interesting example of an aggregator or a platform where you might have a better shot talking to the umbrella organization than approaching each of these smaller organizations individually. The other external piece would be, we call it conducting market research. It's mainly to be in contact with these platforms, networks out there to understand better what their preferences are, what their needs and barriers are to come to Giveth. What is the stuff that they would need to understand better or be able to handle better around Web3, crypto, what is convincing of the story of Giveth to them, and so on, or confusing to them. And I think in order to do these two things properly, there are a couple of internal things that the group could work on or support with. One is clarifying the main target groups for Giveth among impact-driven organizations. And you've seen that some of the strategy sessions that we've done have served that purpose to help a little bit, to narrow down the different niches that Giveth might want to look at. Second, ensuring that the overall narrative of Giveth is clear, attractive, and engaging for impact-driven organizations. So when I talk to some of these organizations, I get sort of mixed feedback about, it's difficult for them to understand sometimes, and sometimes it's a bit confusing. And so I think it can really help to carry that feedback back into the organization and help to refine the narrative so that it's as concise and clear as possible for them. Co-designing efficient frameworks and processes for project verification, project incentives, project participation, project ranking, project updates. I think you remember a lot of the examples where the group has already been involved doing that. So discussing how to improve verification process or think about ranking, that kind of thing. Especially, that's the next point, giving social impact aspects of projects and appropriate placing these frameworks. So sometimes the actual impact measurements, what the actual social impact of organizations should factor into these different kind of frameworks. And I think some of us bring a bit of expertise from that side and can maybe come up with ideas how to integrate that. Advising other working groups with nonprofit philanthropy expertise. I think we also have a couple of sort of ad hoc involvements where just colleagues came up to us and said, I'd love to improve this kind of survey. Can you help me? How would that come across? So I think it would be an internal support group for pretty much everyone at Giveth that are interested in connecting to the nonprofit world. And then the last one, it's a bit more philosophical, but helping Giveth to avoid typical traps and problematic patterns, especially power patterns of the conventional nonprofit philanthropy, social innovation, and social investment sector. And one example maybe is this initiative to think about how can we give projects more governance power. That is one of these examples where Giveth has a chance to not go down the same path that the conventional nonprofit sector went down. And so that's one of the things. You can think of the group maybe to a certain degree as a kind of advocate for the interests and ideas of projects on the platform. What should the group not do in the future? In order to give it a little bit more scope compared to the scope in the past, I think the group should not be working on outreach to the general public, creating Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter messages, blog entries, newsletters, these kinds of things. The group itself should also not be directly responsible for project verification, but maybe there should be a close link to the verification team. I'm not exactly sure what the best relationship there would be, but I think the operational side of it should not be the core of the group. The group should not work that much on implementation of logistics support for onboarding and off-ramping. These trainings and videos, off-ramping resources. I think that should not be the scope of the group. Same for detailed work on UX and UI, project AMAs, these kinds of things. I think these responsibilities should be covered and are mostly well covered by the community group or the comms working group. And obviously, members of the Connect group or whatever it's going to be called can, of course, also be members of the comms working group and the community working group at the same time and do these kinds of things. But I'm here really thinking about the scope of the group itself. And to make an analogy, I think the Impact Partnerships group or the new Connect group supports the community and comms working groups through research and frameworks and guidelines, as I just described, in a similar way that Give Economy research supports Give Economy development. To have a little bit of the sort of one step back, bird's eye view, support background research. And it also complements the more general public outreach that goes through Giveth, through comms, with a special sort of communication line that goes towards project partners or bigger networks. I came up with some names of people that might be interested in being in the group or remaining in the group, but I didn't want to make that list very long because I didn't want to just assumed that people wanted to be there if they're not really interested. So the list is more on the shorter side. It would be Clara Kotabi, Oki, Nicola, Rainer, and Jake. And then, of course, liaisons to other projects. And, you have to help me with the difference between liaisons and actual members. But I had Ahmad here, Ashley, and Corey, obviously. We would have a monthly cycle of a call, just like this one. And here are a couple of examples of the running tasks that the group is involved in right now. So we have reached out to Extinction Rebellion, are talking to them, to Street Football World, to a big funder network called Global Green Grants Fund. We're right now supporting the integration of social impact questions in the verification questionnaire. There's a forum post around the design of project ranking mechanism. There's a forum post around how to co-design the project update mechanism with Ashley. There's a forum post around governance power for projects. And there are a couple of open questions still, really from my side, maybe a list longer than this one, but one question for me is still, should any aspect of donor relations be in the scope of this group? I'm really not sure about this, because I feel being focused on actual projects or networks of potential projects gives it a very clear scope. As soon as you extend it to donors, I'm not exactly sure if it becomes a little bit blurry, because I feel that a lot of other stuff that's happening at Giveth is geared towards donors. The Give economy, Give power. So a lot of stuff is already implicitly or explicitly working on the donor relationship. And then another open question still is for me, should there be a formal relationship with the verification team? Or where does the verification team belong here? I'm still not exactly sure if it's its own working group or it belongs to comms, or maybe there's a way to make this more clear. So these are a couple of thoughts how we could move forward with this group. And, please, let's use this time a little bit to discuss what your questions are, or where you have really different ideas of what the group should do or not do.
I have a question if no one else does.
Sure.
So under the scope of work externally, you say reaching out to key networks and platforms. Would that also include reaching out to projects themselves, or just like the networks and the projects, or like the networks and the platforms that they're part of?
I would see it more on that side, yes.
Yeah, so like, for example, like if we wanted to reach out to like the Gitcoin projects, for example, like would that be in the scope of this group, you think?
It's an interesting question. It is an aggregator. It's a platform. It's not outside of the crypto Web3 space. So if you ask the group to do that, I would do it. But I could totally understand if other people outside of the group have much better access because it's already in your ecosystem. So I'd be open to it, but I think typically the bigger strength of the group is probably when reaching out to the more conventional sector that is outside of Web3.
Yeah, that's something that comes up for me too, is I think that one of the strengths of the Connect group has always been the outreach part of it. And we set up the project nominations thing by request of Connect group. And so maybe, whatever projects come up on there, I would really like to see Connect group follow through in reaching out to the top voted ones, even if it's one every month or one every 2 months, however the frequency or the bandwidth allows to, at least continue to see it moving forward on that front. And yeah, maybe like Ahmad was talking about, we have some communications initiatives right now to do outreach to specific projects on Gitcoin or the Commons Prize projects, this type of stuff. So it wouldn't actually be outreach to Gitcoin, but outreach to the grants that are listed on their platform and try to get them, see if they want to also join ours, this type of thing. So yeah, that's something that comes up for me as well. The outreach is what I really see the strength of the Connect group being.
And did I understand that right? So you would advocate for the group also reaching out to individual projects and not just sort of the aggregator platforms. Did I get that right, Ashley?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I think I'm sometimes a bit unsure about the potential sort of capacity or firepower that the group has. You know, for example, there's hundreds of. Sorry.
I'm sorry to cut you off. I didn't mean. I was just going to say that I think that we can work closer with like the community group to where if Connect is doing the outreach and gaining the interest, and then the community group could step in and then start hand holding them to actually onboard to the platform. But I think it's like the initial outreach, that initial first contact with some of these projects, that I think that the expertise of the Connect group has that knowledge of how to talk to them, how to say the things where it's not like trying to sell them something, because that's what I feel like when I'm doing outreach. But I would be happy for the Connect group to reach out to some of these projects. And then once that connection is established, I could easily take over and say, okay, this is how we get you on. This is how we, get you verified. This is, and help them through those steps. I don't see that the Connect group would need to follow them through every step, but just that initial outreach part.
Okay, I get that. Yeah, so that would be some kind of handover point for the longer sort of onboarding process. Okay.
Yeah.
I've added this as a question at the end now to make sure that we don't lose that. What else comes up for you?
Thanks very much for all this work, Rainer. Looks very, very good, very interesting. I think it's a very compelling narrative. And yeah, I'm so sorry to see you leaving also, Melody. But I wish you the best in the next step forward and hope that you stay connected with us. There's one thing that I also consider that is very important for Giveth at this point, which is that the projects, and it's something that you spotted, that the projects in Giveth that are being onboarded actually manage to raise funds and manage an interesting enough amount of funds to kind of like stay engaged and be every time more engaged with the platform. So I'm really excited about this fundraising 101 that we're going to have tomorrow. And I kind of like want to keep having some webinars, I want to keep supporting nonprofits that are interested. I actually kind of like rallied up a few nonprofits that supposedly are going to be there tomorrow, like maybe 8 to 10 people are going to be there tomorrow, that I can like outreach personally. And I've been collecting them from like a few months back, all people that might be interested in developing their fundraising skills. And I think this is going to be important. And this, this was something that Melody was pushing forward. And I don't know, like, I really want to see it still happening. Kind of like, how do we help projects that are already on the platform to be successful on the platform so that they don't just lose interest? And I will also leave that as an open-ended question. Like, should it be part of the Giveth Impact Partnerships Group, or should it be, I don't know, something that we do at the Communities Working Group?
Yeah, I think the Communitas could step in and start. I mean, it's aligned already with our weekly AMA for this week anyways, and it's pretty closely connected. So we could continue to facilitate them through community, and maybe Connect Group could connect us with some people to come in and host it or something. Like we have Melody this week, or maybe Rainer knows somebody that's like really expertise at creating a video, or or some sort of fundraising campaign or something, and we can get that person in to come and share their knowledge with project owners. But more so like that connect part again, and then the execution carried out by like community, So like Connect Group making the connections with these people and helping us to kind of like do it the right way, I guess, and provide like high quality substance to our projects, so that we're not just in there winging it, trying to answer the questions as best as we can as community contributors, but like some people with some expertise in there. So yeah, I guess that's kind of what comes up for me when I think about that. But I think the community could easily still continue to facilitate those types of events.
That sounds appropriate to me, to say this group in these contexts has more of an advisory role, or contacting experts, but not actually facilitating it and managing the actual sort of events to support existing projects. So that sort of division of labor sounds very appropriate to me. What else comes up for you?
I mean, for me, selfishly, since my title is donor relations, I'd like to dig a little bit more into that. I've always felt that Connect is the right silo for me, and so is comms. But I also agree, Rainer, with you that there is so many things that Giveth, Give Economy, Give Power, Donor, one-on-one videos that do focus on donor as well. So I guess you're kind of saying, well, it should be more of a liaison with the Connect group, and more of the focus is with comms group. Is that the understanding with donor relations, and your thoughts there?
I think that's one option, right? I'm really asking the open question. Also to you personally, where do you feel most at home, right? Would it be in the community group? Would it be in the Connect group? I don't know. I think I think everyone would benefit if we had sort of clear boundaries that says what's in and what's out in terms of scope. And I'm just not sure about that particular function.
One thing, Jake, I will invite you to join our community. I mean, I don't know what Ashley will think, but like maybe I think that the community calls will be like a good place for us to discuss about donors in general. And also something that I'm feeling from this conversation right now is that maybe it will eventually make more sense, since like Connect is more kind of like on advisory role, and community working group is going to be more on an executioner role. To have that the two meetings that are coupled, communications maybe should be coupled more than with a community working group call, and the Connect should be more kind of like this, more advisory, more strategy, more on the platforms. But that's just an idea that just popped into my head right now. I don't know, what do you think?
It's definitely a good idea, because I have been joining the community one. So thanks. But no, I agree. The good thing is I do have the bandwidth to join both of them, because I do see the synergy with both the community and the Connects. And so I just wanted, I guess, for a moment to be a little selfish. So sorry to take the call over for a minute, but did feel extremely comfortable in both. And I enjoy everybody in community and Connects. Just wanted to kind of dig a little bit more into that, since Ashley and Rainer already commented on it, and this is always the right place to bring it up. So I'll continue, working in community and see where that leads to, as well as in the Connects, and just wanted to take a couple minutes. So thanks, everyone.
That's great. I mean, you have every right to ask, what does that mean for me? That's completely fine. I completely understand that. And obviously, you're very welcome to be on the calls, This is really about the scope of the group, not the scope of what you should be doing. And if what you're doing is essentially a mix of what these two groups do, then by all means, join both of them.
Yeah.
And I think the outreach that we're going to do is necessarily going to be in also in philanthropic donor space, right? So we do have sort of overlap a little bit in that sense. So please feel welcome.
And I feel like also the projects that we're outreaching to in the Connect group are also bringing donors with them, right? So donor relations and project relations are definitely connected. And I know one thing that Melody had mentioned in our call a little bit not too long ago, and which really made a lot of sense, is with Jake being pretty brand new to Web3 and crypto and stuff, and Oki maybe joining the group a little bit more full time and being compensated, that Oki and Jake can also work together donor wise, and he can kind of help Jake to like get more into this crypto space when it comes to donor relations, and maybe that they could compound with each other. So I don't know, I would like to see donors still, or like donor relations still have some like activity within Connect group, but I understand that we only have so much bandwidth and only so many team members, and to like keep the scope to something that's simple and efficient is also important.
I think the whole justification for the Connect group is essentially to get more donors to the platform, right? So it's supposed to serve the same purpose.
To that point, I actually have a question.
Sure, go ahead, Corey.
I'm reading, like, this all this all looks good. What I'm also wondering is like, how do you envision measuring the success of this team or the impact of this team? I'm trying to piece this together in terms of, I'm gonna say if community is supposed to be the execution, maybe in terms of onboarding projects, would this essentially be like in terms of measuring the effectiveness of this? Would that be, for instance, like lead generation for projects coming into the platform, or how do we know that this is working?
It's a good point. I think short term it would be lead generation. I agree. Long term it should be more high quality projects on the platform, and still longer time frame, more donors on the platform. That's what I would answer from the gut. The other aspect of the work is it's a bit more difficult because it's supposed to improve the quality of some of the things that we do internally. And that obviously is always more difficult to measure in terms of, sort of quantifiable measures. I'm open to suggestions. What do you think would be an obvious way to measure or document the contribution that the team or that the working group makes?
I think, looking through the scope of work, a big component of this is outreach, right? And the goal here is making Giveth more attractive to impact organizations. And I would assume bringing, it's not explicitly written here, but bringing, more projects to the platform. And then, of course, we're saying here again that a goal is also to bring more donors to the platform. I don't see that written here. Oh no, wait, I do see it here. The main driver for more donors to come to the platform, right? So I do think it's important to, if we're talking about outreach, to be measuring the effectiveness of it. And that would be quite simple to do, I would think, through, we've talked about a CRM program. We can track leads. We can track how many leads are converting to projects. And then we can also track the quality of those leads. So I think that would be really important to implement here along the way. And then, of course, like the internal processes, that can be measured as well. Maybe on a monthly basis, that there's frameworks being proposed, or like these kind of things can also be can be measured. I think through documentation, and then tests can be done. This kind of thing. But I think, that would be important. Or that would be my first suggestions.
Or on the more qualitative level, we could also ask colleagues, right? If we asked every 2 months, did you have a kind of concrete benefit from working with the Connect group, something like that? Like this survey was a lot better than it would have been, or that piece of communication was a lot clearer than it would have been, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and also on a output level, I think with internal quality improvement, for example, now we have those strategic sessions that are basically very clear deliverables from the group to the team in general, and also like fundraising 101, the projects that we are delivering right now. So those are deliverables that are basically to the internal team that can be basically counted as well.
I think the reason why I'm a little bit careful is that I'm not exactly sure about the capacity of the group. For me personally, for example, I have 16 hours a week. That's, I think the category at Giveth is called very part-time. So I'm just not sure, the other names that I mentioned here, are some of these 50% of a full position or a full role, or is it more like 10%? So I'm hesitant to sort of make any promises on behalf of the group if it's just minimal what we have in terms of time. And I think the less time we have, the more the group will have to be in a more advising, internally, suggesting role, and the less it can be in an actual operational capacity with outreach, because that's where capacity counts. So I don't have clear visibility on that capacity in the group.
Yeah, I would say that's why it's really important to clearly define like what's the highest impact like goal here of the group. You know, is it providing a feedback loop from the fields internally so that we can improve communications, which would hopefully help us to bring more projects and donors onto the platform. That's like largely advisory, but then that's like a certain amount of information flow coming through, like we set up like feedback loops for this. Or is the goal really like pure outreach, generating leads? Is it a combination of both? And then it's just looking at what is the total capacity of the team, right? And then coming up with metrics that are reasonable. I think that can be designed.
I think right now with Reiner, your capacity, even like before when when I'm also part of the group, like the strength of this group is very clear, is that we have more of access to the traditional space than most of the other team. So I think most of this capacity should be used as take advantage of this, our strength, which is to outreach, just like you said in the outline there in the document, to projects that are umbrella projects. Like, so we're talking about, for example, Street Football World, who has 156 projects around the world. And these are bigger like platforms where we could use our strength, we can use our network. We already know the founder. We've had several conversations already about this. We could structure partnerships because we kind of understand what they need. And Ashley also said this is, so I think maybe this is more important, definitely, on the outreach, like exactly what you outlined there, just to take advantage of this strength of this, and then explore a little bit more once the group grow in capacity or in people. Is that what you're thinking of, Reiner?
That makes sense. Just to
because
jump
other
in.
people just don't have that kind of network,
right,
or the ability to do that right now. So this is why we were brought in the first place, actually, as consultants, because of our backgrounds and our strength in this world. So we should take advantage of that to the max first.
Yeah. And also through the outreach efforts, the feedback will be gathered more and more, and then that can be reported on. But that can be done async and on occasion in meetings to influence, as written here, like what our main target groups are, and helping with the narrative. This would come along the way through meetings. But maybe the core activities then outside of meetings being outreach to drive more high quality projects to the platform, leveraging the networks that you have and the backgrounds that you have. I mean, that is, I understand that so far in my time here as being like the core value.
Yeah, I think if you ask me what the priority is, getting feedback from the field and improving what Giveth is internally versus, let's call it, mass outreach, it's certainly the former, not the latter, right? Because if I have an hour on my time, I think it's more useful for Giveth to help improve some storyline on the website or approach 2 or 3 bigger organizations than writing out 100 emails to individual small organizations. So maybe I should change the order at the top. Maybe the market research feedback from the field is actually more important than the actual outreach that's mentioned there.
Let's make a note of the capacity of the group as well in the document. I think this is an important point.
I've got a couple of points I'd like to add. But first of all, I'd like to say thanks to Melody and Reiner for putting this document together, and thanks to Melody for all the help and support and knowledge and sharing and creation of the Connect group that you've worked on over the last few months. I think for me, I'd be more inclined to agree with the sort of focus on the outreach side of things. I think as the Connect group has sort of organically grown over the last few months, it's become quite clear that the strength is in the outreach, and that's where a lot of the value add has come. And I think it is important to recognise the capacity of the group as it stands at the moment before it sort of organically grows again with this new structure. I think it's important to play to those strengths. And I think with that, I'd also like to say that I think, given the way that the discussion has flowed over the last sort of half an hour or so, I think it's become clearer to me that maybe the donor outreach side of things does still belong within the Connect group, in that it's these sort of nurturing these, what should we call them, unique and new relationships, I think, and building on the outreach of the new Connect group. I think that's all I'd like to say on it, if that makes sense.
Also, I just wanted to add one thing on the end before we move on, is I kind of have a strong objection to changing the name of the group and going back through this whole naming thing and bureaucratic stuff. So I, for one, would advocate very strongly for us just leaving the name as it is and having the structure as we already have it, so that we don't need to rewrite everything. But it's just, something that came up.
I'm open to that. I just didn't want to leave a name in place that is confusing for most people who read it and then, have to figure out what it actually stands for.
Can I come in? Do you hear me, guys?
Sure.
I think it took me some time to get used to Connect the name, and I kind of now get it, and I like it because it is about making connections. All right. So that would be my 2 cents about this. And I just want to say that if I'm looking at this situation and I'm trying to figure out what's happening. And I don't know if it's because I missed first 15 minutes of the call, but maybe it is. But I would also like to know, I know, Melody, you are going to leave us, and are you still going to stay a consulting with Giveth or not at all? Because I think that would that would make a big difference for the Connect group itself. Who else has such a big connections to a big impactful institutions, donors, or whatever, or charities, So that would be my first question. If you're staying involved or not, and then I am seeing that before restructuring the group, I think it would be mostly important to just figure out, so who are the members now and what are they good at? And okay, we have this big scope of all the things that Connect group can be doing maybe even with time, as there is more people. But maybe prioritize what's the most important thing. And in my eyes, I think that aiming more for quality instead of quantity in whatever it means, it makes more sense to me. So to use the time we all have dedicated for this work at the best for ourselves and also for the Giveth. So it's been 45 minutes and we've been discussing about the structure, and maybe it makes sense to just really take the core team, whoever the core team members should be of the Connect group. And I can't be one of them. I like to be, on the list, but also maybe let's check in let's make a little maybe separated call where we check in with each other and understand the strengths and weaknesses of the group, and how can we actually work with what there is and start using, quality action types of focus. So that would be my piece on this.
Great. Just to answer your question,
Yeah.
so I've I'm leaving because I accepted a position with the Resource Alliance, which is a UK-based NGO association, global association. They build programs like International Fundraising Congress, as well as programs for NGOs around the globe to be, focus on innovation, focus on the power shift and everything. So it's really exciting. And because it's a full-time position and I also have teaching, I will not be, unfortunately, consulting. I will absolutely have no capacity for Giveth. But on the other hand, I would also have more of a network to help you guys. And so if Rainer is in touch, like I'm in touch with everyone. So if you need my help in any ways on that outreach piece, I'm happy to do that. As well as from programming side of things, like we're Resource Alliance is looking at innovation. So we'll continue to collaborate for sure. And I also think we should, like, this transition is a good thing because everything is a prototype. Like we're prototyping, we're building this. When you build something, it involves a lot of evolution of the group of whatever that we're building here. And I think it's actually for the better. We should look at it from this very positive way. And like you said, Nicola, think about the quality of the group, the members of the group, possibly and the strengths, and play to the strength. And yeah, I fully support, and I think it's a really, really good thing that the group is transitioning into more focused. And yeah, I'm very happy for this. And thanks,
Agree. I'm
Nicola.
happy for you. I'm
Yeah.
happy for you, and I wish you all the best. And I'm also happy to hear that you will stay in touch with us. And
Yeah.
I also think that it's a good thing that this is happening, because since Connect Group is a young group, it grows and it changes, and it's getting to know itself. So okay.
Great, thank you. And it's really amazing to work with all of you. I think it's everyone has a lot of strength in this group, and I have no doubt it will get better.
Okay. I'd like to maybe use 1 or 2 minutes to make two concrete more steps. One is, since we're here, and I think we can make that kind of decision, who thinks that this needs renaming, and who thinks it can just remain Connect Group? So who thinks it needs renaming? Please raise your hand or say something, speak up. Okay, so that's the decision. So we're going to keep Connect Group. That's fine. The other question that I have is, I think, my gut says that there is still a team formation step missing in the Connect Group. I think we've been playing along for a longer time, but I think this might be the right moment to actually do what Nicola just said, sit down and think, who's involved with what capacity, what are their strengths, what are their passions, what do we want to set as priorities for the group. And I'd love to do that separate from this call, just sit together with the team and think about, what do we want to do together. So my question would be, who is in this call that would like to be on the list of people that would join such a team formation call that is not already here on the list? So I have Claire. Thanks, Claire. I have Kotabi. I have Oki. I have Nicola, myself, and Jake. So who else should I write here and invite to a kickoff foundational, team? Ahmad? Did I see that right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you can put me. I mean, I'm on the liaison list, but you can put me on there too. I'll definitely participate.
Okay. So I assume Corey, Benz, Jess, Jake, you see yourself as more sort of liaisons or members that would sometimes join the calls. Which is completely fine with me. I just want to make sure that we have the right set of people that feel they would like to understand themselves as core, you know?
Yeah,
Jake,
you can
Jake
keep
is
me
in
on
there.
there, and
Yeah.
keep me on there, and we'll go and see how it develops as it goes with debtor relations. But I definitely want to be on it and continue being connect and community and both calls at once.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the liaison role makes a lot of sense for me. To play the connector between comms and the connect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So thanks for taking so much time to discuss it. Sorry.
No, just question, because right now I'm seeing something that I had not seen, and it's important for me. We're changing the time of, so sorry, this is just different, but are we changing the time of fundraising 101 session?
Sorry, that's a typo.
Okay.
Once.
That's good. And the other thing is that, I don't know, and this is something that we can discuss like also on this formation call. But I see that maybe 80%, 85% of the people that are going to be on the Connect working group are going to be on the community working group. And maybe it will make sense, at least, maybe it will make sense eventually or at the beginning, to have just one call instead of two, where both things get discussed. But I'm not sure. Just putting it out there because I see that there is a lot of people that are going to be on both.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, there was. Sorry, Ashley, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I feel like I see the overlap, but I also feel that our calls have a lot of different focuses. Like in our community building call, we're talking about Discord things. We're talking, about a lot of things that wouldn't necessarily involve Connect. And in the Connect call, there's probably some things that they talk about that doesn't necessarily involve us, but I think it's good for us to be there and in the know and kind of be there ready for when Connect group, yeah. I think that having two separate calls is still important.
Yeah, I mean, let's test it. I think it's important to get feedback from all of you if, a meeting is not necessary, right? Because hanging around in meetings all the time is hell. And if we can avoid doing that, that would be, of course, best, right? So I'm completely open to, at some point, merging the call times with something else, or shortening the call times or something like that. But maybe a good next step would be sort of a foundational kickoff call in the core team. Okay, I'll give back to you, Melody, in a second. I just would love to know, is there anything that would need to be said now? Anything that's still open around this document? Okay, thank you so much for the time and your discussion and your contribution.
Great.
Over to you, Melody.
Yeah, thanks. And also, the document is still there, so if you have more comments, you can continue to make those comments. And just very quickly, 5 minutes, perfect. Since we're not changing the name, that makes it easier, because we were thinking of at something to call this group member or your role as part of the Connect group. And Amanitas comes up as a fun name. Are we okay with this? Oki has suggested it because of mushrooms.
What's the context of this? I know the founder of Amanitas.
Oh,
is
there an
wild
organization
bunch.
that's called Amanitas? It's supposedly to be like mushrooms. So I have ambassadors and Amanitas are the two that were highly rated, highly voted. But Amanitas, Oki was saying that's more fun, which I think, yes. So mushrooms have connections with each other. It hasn't those connecting. So that's the connection, is not with the organization, but is mushrooms.
I see. These are name suggestions.
Yeah.
Okay, now I get the context. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is an organization out there that calls itself Humanitas for the very same
Really?
reason. Yeah,
Okay.
because they are sort of use this analogy of the spores and the connections and
spores,
stuff.
exactly. Yeah. So this is just Discord name suggestion. Yeah, we just want to like have one so that.
Personally, I think that it's fun, but it's not intuitive as to like what it's actually referring to. So, like if I tag Amanitas in the Discord server, nobody except for the people who are in the Connect group are really going to know what that's referring to. I think ambassadors might be a better choice because it is a little bit more intuitive and you're connecting. You're like kind of the first touch when it comes to outreach and this type of thing. So it seems descriptive and it's helpful. I understand what that means. Yeah, but I think that that's just my 2 cents.
Okay. Well, do you want to maybe continue to talk about this for the team call, or we can just decide here? Doesn't matter.
I have a new suggestion for you guys.
You have a new suggestion, okay?
Well, I do want to say that I echo what Ashley said about Amanitas, and then as we were talking just during this call, it came to me like a connection, right? Like with next, but connect.
Okay, that's interesting.
And it doesn't sound so boring as a connect, but it still have the core, the core meaning in it. And so maybe this just like to sprinkle inspiration, and maybe
sounds good.
We can spend a little more time on the core meeting with this.
Yeah. Yeah. Why don't you spend some time with this with a team formation call, so that you know, on Discord we can actually tag everyone. I'm finding it very difficult to do that.
And I would like to also invite everybody who has any kind of comment to provide it into that document as soon as possible, so that we can also use it in the next meeting. It would be really good.
Great.
Any ideas, suggestions?
Thanks. One quickly, fundraising one happening tomorrow at 5. So if you're interested, you can come as well. CRM project, Jake is taking over this project, just so that everyone knows. And I don't know who wrote Gitcoin, but we don't have time anymore. Sorry. Yeah.
All right, just one question for the CRM system. Does anybody know here if we have a HubSpot account already? Since I think someone mentioned that on a previous call that we set up a HubSpot account a while ago, but I forgot who it was.
Could be Monique. Could it?
Maybe.
Yeah. It would only be someone who knows and who's been with the team for a long time. So maybe can you check with Monique and let Jake know?
I can ask around. Yeah, sure.
Great. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Ron.
And thank you for coming. And have a nice communication call.
Thanks, Melody. Thanks, Rainer.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Rainer, Melody,
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.